Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment today we are going to discuss about the issues with respect to Lingaraj temple between the state of Odisha and the government of India. Let's look at the various topics that we are going to discuss. These are the many topics that we are going to discuss from the perspective of facts. We will go through some factual information about Lingaraj temple, the other facets which might be gapped, the length of the shikhara and everything else. You can look at your book, the art and culture book, and fill those gaps because it will become very long. The main point is what is the entire issue between, what is the contention between the state government and the central government, what are the laws that are actually in conflict, and what are the articles that are included here that will be in the conclusion. Let's move on and talk about what is the issue. Now, the center has said that the ordinance with respect to Lingaraj temple that has been passed by the Odisha government is in conflict with the central act with respect to the maintenance of temples. Now, first thing that we have to keep in mind over here is the term or the concept of religion is in the concurrent list, and that includes temples as well. So, one thing you must be well assured of is whenever there is a conflict between the center or the state with respect to concurrent list, the former shall prevail but not the latter. That means the laws that are made by the center prevails over the state laws, concurrent list, remember that. Let's move on and talk about Lingaraj temple. Lingaraj temple is an 11th century temple which is said to be or believed to be built by King 𝐃𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢 in the 10th century and completed by King Lalatendu Keshari in the 11th century. These kings belong to the Somvanshi dynasty, and it is the biggest temple in Bhubaneswar, and they have Kalinga type of architecture. Now, there are three types of Kalinga form of architecture: Rekha Deola, Pidha Deola, and Kakhara Deola. Tell me in the comment segment, Lingaraj temple falls into which of these categories, and the ones who have answered it correctly, I will in the next segment take their names. Okay. Now, previously they were known as Utkal, and in present eastern Indian state of Odisha they are present. Also, if we see that what as accolade they have taken up for themselves, it was said that these are, or the temple is one of the finest examples of purely Hindu temple in India by noted critic and historian James Ferguson. So keep in mind whenever this kind of quote comes, it's related to Lingaraj temple. Bindusagar Lake, very famous, is situated on the north side of the temple. Remember this. Whatever gaps have been left, fill it. This is your homework. Otherwise, it won't be fun if I'll just keep on spoon feeding you the important ones I'm going to tell you. Now, this is the Kalinga architecture. You see, this is the basically, as I asked about which category does the Lingaraj temple fall into of the Kalinga style. Rekha Deola, you can see over here. This is known as Shikhara in Nagar style. For its above shrine, above the Garbhagriha, it's Rekha Deola. And you see this is Pidha Deola and Kakhara Deola. So this will help you in understanding under which category Lingaraj temple falls. Okay, let's move on and talk about what does the ordinance say. So 66-acre plan has been built by or has been established by the ordinance. And this entire establishment of 66-acre of redevelopment is known as Ekamra Kshetra Development Project. Okay, tell me, is there any other temple in Odisha which has a special plan with respect to it in terms of development and management? Tell me in the comment segment. And it talks about development of 9 sites and then nearby areas as well, not only the temple but nearby areas as well. And it's a project of rupees 700 crore. The outer access road development in the phase 1, these are going to be developed. The outer access road development, Lingraj entry plaza, Bindusagar revival plan, parking space, heritage complex, development of amenities for Kedar Gauri, Mukteshwar complex, and an e-auto project as well, relocation project, and state-of-the-art interpretation center. The name of the act is Lingaraj Temple Ordinance of 2020, but it is not an act. Why was it passed through an ordinance? Because this was passed in 2020 when the assembly was not in session. Okay, and also it was way back in 2019 when the envisionment of this particular plan was taking place. Let's move forward and talk about another things. It wants to manage the rituals, a 15-member committee which will be formed to manage the rituals and other activities of the temple. Now, at present, the temple is being governed by the Odisha Hindu Religious Endowment Act, and also an administrator along with the committee will be present to look into the day-to-day works of the entire temple. And a fund creation is also proposed with respect to any fee that is received by the temple. Okay, moving forward, what is the need? Why did Odisha thought about having this program? To have better functioning, to have quality facilities to the pilgrims, devotees and worshippers, and also safeguard the properties of the ancient temple. The temple has many properties, not only in the area of the main temple, but along the state, throughout the state. So, encroachment is a very big problem for Odisha government over there. Keeping that in mind, this ordinance also targets that. Moving forward, let's talk about the issue. It is in conflict with which act? There is an act at the central level which maintains the important monuments, including temples in India, and that is the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958. So the center has said that you have taken up the 12 centrally looked after monuments, including the Lingaraj temple and 3 tanks. So these are already governed by the act, which is in conflict with the current ordinance. So that cannot happen. Also, state government has already violated the act by building modern structures around the Lingaraj temple. That was also pinpointed. And it is outside the legislative competency of the state legislature for this very reason. Another thing, dual administration, because the center versus state will occur if administration is divided between, bifurcated between 2 parties. So that will cause a lot of conflict. And clause 15(2) of the Odisha ordinance talks about having retail shops inside and outside the premises of the temple. According to the AMASR Act, it is said that whatever violates the character of the particular monument cannot take place. That means with respect to temple, we are there to worship but not have any retail shops, not to have any sort of commercial business. Another thing, clause 17(3) of the Odisha ordinance talks about movable property. Now, movable property can also refer to antiques which cannot be moved out of India, which cannot be traded out of India according to the act. So that is also another problem, that whatever transaction might take place here, the Odisha government might be talking about the land of the temple, but it immovable and movable both. And if we talk about movable, it is a very open-ended term. The antiques and objects can also be taken into account over here. Another thing is clause 22, 2D of the ordinance. It talks about maintenance. Maintenance of the Lingaraj temple is done by Archaeological Survey of India. If the committee will start maintaining it, again there will be a conflict. So these are the certain clause. Special darshan on payment of a fee has also been provided by the ordinance, which is against the act, which says that it is a public place, it is open to everyone without any special fee or anything in any lieu of payment. Also, repair and construction, as I already told you, it's under Archaeological Survey of India, dual the committee and the ASI will have conflict of interest over here. So as I told you that with respect to concurrent, the legislative relation between the center and the state, Article 254 of the Constitution says that whenever there is a conflict between the central act or the state act, the former shall prevail. If anything is there which the state or the center does not have congruence over, they can of course go to the Supreme Court. Under Article 131, the Supreme Court will have its judgment pronounced with respect to it. So there is a doctrine of repugnancy. That means if there is any anomaly with respect to the 2 acts, we have to make sure that the central act prevails. So this is also known as doctrine of repugnancy. Okay, let's move on to our mains based question. Discuss Article 254 of the Constitution by throwing a light on the recent ordinance passed by Odisha with respect to Lingaraj temple in 250 words. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated. Thank you so much for watching.